great basketball.
Defender to the basket, Jason Tatum.
Be covering pre and post game back on this channel.
Welcome into Celtics Postgame Live, everybody. I'm Justin Lowe. That's Jack. That's Zach Hoiberg. He runs the Celtics fan page, and the Boston Celtics drop a game to the Houston Rockets in the most Boston Celtics fashion, 111 to 109. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I kind of want to just we'll go right down the line, Jack, and then Zach, start with your initial thoughts on the game. But I just want to say, I don't want to be negative, but if Tatum hasn't already fallen out of the MVP race, I think tonight was the game that pushed him out of that MVP race. And I know I don't want to be negative and all that, but this was a bad loss. This was a really bad game for Jason Tatum. So we'll go right down the line. Jack, Zach, Ian, what are our initial thoughts on the game?
Just like you said, man, really bad loss. And I don't know how many times we're going to be saying this is like the worst loss of the year. Like we said it after that first Knicks loss. We said it after that Brooklyn loss. We said it after the other Knicks loss. And now we're going to say it tonight. So it's like, just how many times are we going to see these? It's just, you really wish this team could win these games because these just bad losses, like one after another, is just really not good for the locker room and just for the morale of the team. And just the fact that we missed 30 threes tonight is mind-boggling. I can't even comprehend that. And I'm going to save the rest of my rant for
later
in the show, but I'll let the line keep moving here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll backpack off of what Jack said. I mean, I don't know how many times we have to say this is the worst loss of the year. We have, 3 losses now to the Magic, a loss to the Rockets. Even just splitting those games 2-2 is a massive difference in the way the standings look. I think, especially, it's even worse now. I think the Kings are up 10 or 12 on the Bucks right now. So, I mean, just the lost ground in the standings is a really big deal.
Yeah. This team has a problem. And it's a problem that we've talked about a lot on this show. This team loves to play down to their competition. They absolutely love to play down to their competition. You know why we keep saying the worst loss of the season is the worst loss of the season? It's because the Celtics consistently lose to the worst possible teams.
Teams that are trying to lose.
Let's think about it. We talk about the Magic. The Magic are not a great team. The Thunder, yeah, they might be in a play-in spot, but at the time, they were a terrible team, and they let them drop 150 on them. And now tonight, the Houston Rockets have won 15 games all season. This is one of the worst teams in NBA history. Austin Rivers was talking about why this team is playing like an AAU team. And for the first time, probably ever, the Houston Rockets looked like a legitimate NBA team tonight. And all props go to them because the Celtics obviously didn't want to be an NBA team tonight. Like, how many times are the Celtics going to go through this bullshit? How many times are they going to play down to their competition like this? You know why they keep losing? You know why we keep saying this is the worst loss of the season? It's because the Celtics play down to their competition, and they do absolutely nothing about it. They will not change. They do the same crap over and over and over again, and it might just be too late into the season for anything to actually legitimately change. It's so frustrating. If the Celtics play a team, let's just say the Celtics play a team like Atlanta in the playoffs, expect that series to go to at least 5 or 6 at this point, because the Celtics do not care. They don't care. Obviously, they don't care. Jaylen Brown was the only person that decided to show up tonight, him and Malcolm Brogdon. I mean, where was Jason Tatum at? Dude, how many times were you going to miss wide open threes before you thought, hey, look, nobody's in the paint. Jaylen Brown is getting to the paint pretty easily. When was he going to open his eyes and just decide to go to the rim? And guess what? He got to the rim and it worked. And then he stopped doing it. It's mind-boggling. The Celtics make these mistakes. They shouldn't make these mistakes if they want to be a championship team.
So
I don't know what it's on. It's just the Celtics have to stop doing this sooner rather than later because it might be too late with the way that they're continuously doing this shit.
Yeah, so I want to bring up something that I find quite alarming. And what I find quite alarming is I'm going to read you these stats from Jason Tatum since the All-Star break. These are his 3-point stats. 3 of 12, 3 of 8, 1 of 9, 4 of 6, 0 of 7, 6 of 17, 6 of 10, not bad, 5 of 14, and tonight, 2 of 10. Jason Tatum has shot double-digit three-pointers in the last 4 games. 4 games, he shot double-digit three-pointers. And what is the Celtics record in these 4 games? 2-2. And he took, the 17 threes against the Knicks, double overtime game. Still pretty bad. But, I just think, and we know this, Jason Tatum is a totally different player, and he is on so many different levels when he attacks and he drives the basketball, but he's been settling so much since the All-Star break. I don't know, and I mentioned this to Jack before we hit record, is I don't know if Jason Tatum is still stuck in All-Star mode weekend, where I know he's had a couple 40-point games since the All-Star break, but he scored 52 in the All-Star break. He's hitting all these threes, and now it just feels as if he's just chucking them up and he's settling and he's not getting aggressive and he's not getting what he normally gets. And I think that's a huge problem. Tonight against the Houston Rockets, no Şengün down low in the paint, who's their down low presence. I'm driving every single damn play. And Jason Tatum had a rough game. He shot 8 of 22, 2 of 10, had 4 turnovers, missed a wide open game layup. Typically Tatum would probably make that 8-9 times out of 10. Tonight he missed that, and that, I guess, perfectly capped off his night. That's exactly how Jason Tatum's night went, was a missed layup at the rim at the buzzer. Celtics go on to lose this one, 111-109. Is anybody else kind of alarmed about Jason Tatum just starting to chuck up threes? We saw 17, now 14, now 2 of 10. Is it not alarming?
It is alarming. And the Celtics are doing nothing about it.
Right.
And
they're not adjusting.
I'm not trying to do this because he is a first-year head coach. How many fucking times are the Celtics going to go through the same thing, Joe? At some point, you got to say something. I don't know what he does as a coach. I'm just a fan, okay? There's nothing I can say that will tell him to be a better coach because obviously he's doing a good job if he's a coach in the NBA. But you got to do something, man. Ime Udoka was able to get the best out of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. He was able to get some of the best basketball these guys have ever played in their careers. What do you have to do, Joe? You got to do something at this point. I like to give the coaches the benefit of the doubt because most of the time the coaches aren't the ones playing. But you got to do something, man. Something has to change. And if there is something going on, it's going to come out after the season, obviously. But this team is way too talented. There's no excuse for the Celtics. There's no excuse. There's no excuse for the Celtics losing this game, losing most of the other games they've lost to bad competition. And there's no excuse of Jason Tatum shooting all of these three-pointers when he's 6'10". Just get to the fucking rim, dude. Please get to the rim.
I just want to point out.
I don't know.
I just want to point out the Celtics are the second to last team in the NBA in 2-pointers attempted. Just want to point that out.
What were you? Read that stat again.
The Celtics are the second worst. The second lowest I don't know how to put this, but they attempt the second least 2-pointers in the league.
Yeah. Wow. That's an issue. That is a serious issue. I mean, and that's 2023 basketball at its peak. Do you know who the number one team is or no?
Yep, the number one team is Atlanta in 2-pointers.
Yeah, I guess Trae Young just hucks
Trae
it from
Young.
that court every time.
Yeah.
But somebody else I want to talk about as well, and Marcus Smart, like post All-Star break, Marcus Smart. It's not so much his scoring; it's his shooting. I feel as if he's getting back into his old self with these just chucking up threes. He had 22 threes in 2 games just last week. The turnovers are up again. The assist numbers are well down. He hasn't had a double-digit assist game yet since the All-Star break. He had 8 against the Brooklyn Nets, and he had only 2 tonight. I get your teammates have to make shots, but we know what Marcus Smart's assist numbers were pre-All-Star break and pre-injury as well, Zach. Are we getting a little bit concerned here with Marcus Smart? I guess, as his play, it's just been off. He hasn't been the same Marcus Smart that we saw a couple of months ago.
No, not at all. There is one very specific play today that I think changed the entire game as a whole that involved Marcus Smart, and it was a turnover. I think we were down 12. We got a couple stops, and it's down to 7. They turn the ball over, and they go right down the floor, and instead of a fast break bucket, Marcus Smart turns it over on a fast break, and they come down, and I believe they scored and got it back to 9. All of I think it was a 5-0 run, all of that momentum was just stripped away. And that was a play in particular that really stuck out to me in terms of our momentum. Because I mean, this isn't a game we were supposed to lose. But I think looking at the team as a whole, I feel like they've kind of made it clear that they don't care about the rest of this regular season, and they're kind of just coasting into the playoffs. Ian talked about how they play down to their competition, and I think if they're playing the Bucks tonight, they don't lose. They show up. They showed up last week against the Sixers. They won that game, so they show up when it matters, which I guess is fine for the playoffs. But I think they've made it clear that they don't care about playing these bad teams, and they don't care about the rest of the regular season. No matter what seed they get, they feel like they can reach the finals, which I guess is fine. But in the long term, they're suffering bad losses to teams that will matter in terms of standings and home court advantage when it comes down to the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's so funny you said that, because I texted Rob during the game, and I said word for word, I said the Celtics are going to find out the hard way if they're going to keep choosing when they can turn it off and on. I said, how the F are we going to lose? How are we going to take Milwaukee and the Cavaliers to overtimes when we were shorthanded? And we're going to get clobbered by Houston. At the time, we were down 12. I'm sorry, but down by 5 is getting clobbered by Houston. I said every game counts down the stretch in the regular season, especially when you're in a tight race for the first seed. I said that's just not acceptable. I agree. I mean, they just seem to turn it on and off when they want. They play down to their competition, and in getting down late in the season, you are trying to build good habits. Even if you do drop a game here and there, like losses are going to happen. That's fine, but it's how you lose games. And this whole turning off and on thing that's unacceptable. And when you're trying to build a winning culture, when you are trying to win titles, right? Tatum talked about the game, talked about his game the other night with Chris Forsberg, saying, "I don't care about the MVPs. I don't care about the All-Star appearances. I care about winning championships." Well, if he cared about winning championships, he wouldn't be getting dusted by teams like the Orlando Magic, the Houston Rockets, the New York Knicks, which I get they're a hot team, but that's still a very winnable team, a Brooklyn Nets team who had no Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden. Like, you haven't lost to those guys in over 10 games. And
especially when I think they were up 28 at one point.
They were up 28 points. That's the largest lead in Brooklyn Nets history, or largest deficit that they came back and won. So there's issues going on in Boston right now, and it's not the end of the world. The Celtics are still one of the top teams in the entire NBA, but the problems are happening at the worst time, and nothing seems to be getting resolved on or off the court, and that to me is an issue coming down the final stretch of the season, Jack.
Yeah, I think for me, coming down the stretch, I mean, I think I said this a couple shows ago that I don't really care as much about seeding as I do playing the best basketball at the right time going into the playoffs. And that's what we saw with the Warriors last year. Like I said, I mean, they were the 3 seed, and they just were playing their basketball at the best time, their best brand of basketball, and look what happened.
Atlanta a few years ago.
Yep, Atlanta. They went to the conference finals, right, or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean, it just sucks to see just such a. It seemed to be just such a sudden turn of just things were just going so well. The All-Star break comes. You figure Tatum has his MVP All-Star game, and you figure, okay, they'll pick it up after the All-Star game, pick up right where they left off, and they've just really been struggling. And Al Horford, 43 minutes tonight.
Oh,
He led the Celtics in minutes. 36-year-old Al Horford. What the fuck are we doing here against a lousy Rockets team?
and
You shouldn't play Horford more than 25 minutes.
and I don't know if anybody noticed, but Grant and Blake played in the first half, and
I did see that.
play
Grant turned it over.
They didn't play a minute. Yeah, but they didn't. Neither of them played a minute in the second half.
Yeah, it's what are you doing? Playing?
And Al Horford played 43 minutes.
Yes, and he scored 2 fucking points.
This should have been a night where, and I said this in the last post-game show, this should have been a night where Mfiondu Kabengele gets minutes. This should have been a night where J.D. Davison, if Peyton Pritchard was healthy, that's the type of, that should have been the lineup in this fourth quarter tonight, not Tatum, Brown, Horford, Smart. That shouldn't have happened. And the Celtics know that, but they're not doing, like you said, they're not doing anything about it. And that's the problem. That's the issue. I'm sick and tired of hearing no, we're not worried.
No,
I'd rather them say, we take responsibility, be a little worried. I don't want to see, panic in terms of, we're not winning a championship like Danny Ainge went and said on the radio a few years ago. But I also want accountability, and I want the awareness to be there, because when you shed something like this off, I feel like the awareness is not there. And I think that's an issue. Ian, was it difficult making this TikTok tonight? Did you not want to make it?
You know what's crazy? I didn't even feel angry.
He was numb. He was numb making it. Yeah. He was just numb.
I didn't even feel angry about the game, in the moment as it was happening. I wasn't angry. I didn't even know what I was feeling, honestly, because I don't know, but
I joined Ian's live for 30 seconds today, probably. And just because I wanted to see his reaction, I watched a play and I'm like, shit, I need to see Ian's reaction to this play. It was the Smart turnover that led to the bucket at the other end. I turned it on. Ian's like, bro. And he turns around his camera. I expect him to be really pissed. He's just laughing. He's in just disbelief.
I mean, what do you even say in that situation?
Yeah, no, honestly.
What do you even say? It was I don't know. I want someone to be angry. Yeah, I don't know why we're the ones that always have to be angry. Can't someone else on the Celtics be angry for once? Why do we always have to be the ones that are
a big red flag for me is, Justin, you kind of touched on it about the whole their whole demeanor and about how they just seem to be sure that they'll be fine come playoff time magically. But I want to point out a specific example when it was after they blew a 28-point lead to a bum-ass Nets team, a terrible, not a good Nets team at all. We should beat them at home. And Tatum's he's like, nope, we're not angry. He's like, there's not really any anger. You lose some, you win some. It's you lose some, but you don't really lose some when you're up 28.
Right.
Right. It's let's get serious now. It's you shouldn't go 0-3 against the Magic. I know come playoff time, we're not really going to be thinking of these games, but still, like, they matter. Like, I know, like, the players might not say, but, like, looking back and saying, oh, we let that bum-ass Magic team sweep us, like, that's got to be, to some level, like, a little annoying. Like, obviously, I'm not an NBA player, so I wouldn't know, but I just got to imagine, as competitors, it must hurt.
Yeah, I mean, it also feels like when you look at last season compared to this year, I felt like there was a lot more accountability from the coaching staff side in terms of, not even just like calling people out during press conferences or anything like that, but just it felt like, I guess, Udoka had a stronger hold on the coaching style that these players needed. And I think when you're looking at, I guess, timelines last season, it felt like they had figured it out and they had so much momentum coming into the playoffs. And it feels like they're just going to enter the playoffs kind of like limping in there. And that's not always the best.
I mean, right now, for me, it seems like teams have the blueprint, to be honest with you. I mean, I feel like teams...
We're doing nothing to change.
Exactly. I feel like teams have figured out how to beat that November, December, October Celtics team. And we are still in March, the same Celtics we were in November, October, December. We haven't changed shit about our team. We play the exact same way. And that's eventually, you play a team enough, it's going to get pretty easy to stop that. And that's why in a playoff series, when you see a team, you're going to see the Bucks 7 times. And adjustments are the biggest part of the playoffs. And that's kind of what concerns me a little bit with with Ian.
Yeah, I know.
Is that true?
Yeah,
or is that fake?
Concerns
No,
me.
I did.
What were you saying, Ian?
I said no, I did. I did bet that if the Celtics lost, I would buy a Rockets jersey. I don't know when I'll buy it. I'll buy it eventually, but
No, don't buy it. You don't have to buy it for anybody. Yeah. Get one of the green ones. At least maybe just get the green one so you can just play it off as a Celtics jersey.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. They had a sale today on jerseys, though. Maybe it was fate.
Maybe.
Fanatics had a sale on jerseys, on Rockets jerseys, ironically. So.
Let me ask you guys seriously, though.
So funny.
Zach, is the panic button pressed right now? Is it pressed? I mean, it was on it, but is it fully pressed?
I wouldn't say it's fully pressed. I'll say it's like half pressed. I feel like, we've seen them perform against the teams that they need to perform against when it comes to the playoffs. So I guess if they were like doing this and also losing games to those type of teams, then you'd press like the full panic button. But I still kind of trust them to show up when they need to show up.
Ian?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I have kind of been pressing the panic button ever since we blew the lead to the Nets. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, at least, just, I don't know. That's pretty much all I can say.
Yeah.
Because we just need to see this team prove me wrong. That's what I want to see. Prove me wrong. I don't care. Prove me wrong. Because, I mean, the Celtics are still, there's only so much complaining we can do when the Celtics are still 47-22. And it's one of those things where if they really are legit, then prove me wrong. Do it. Prove me wrong. It's just so frustrating.
I think
because this team, it's just annoying.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think for me, it right now, the way we're playing right now, yeah, it is. I mean, until I see Joe really make some adjustments, in-game adjustments, it's going to be pressed until I can see some changes from, the demeanor, the coaching, the Tatum's aggressiveness. I was telling Justin again before we press record, Joe's got to grow some balls and he's got to get Marcus out of there when he's playing like shit in the fourth quarter. I know he's our guy. I've defended him on this show countless times, but when he's throwing up these random threes like he's playing pickup, like you got to take him out of there and you got to put Derek White in or Malcolm Brogdon, depending on the situation. Because right now, on March 13th, 2023, they're the better player right now.
Right.
So it sucks to have to do because obviously he's been around. He's like Mr. Celtic for this team, but yeah,
I would say this was the game for me to fully press it, and the reason I say that is because after we won the last 2 games, I was saying, okay, maybe we just went through a little slump. Like every team goes through it, and then to come out and lose this game. I get it. We made it look close in the end, but we know that Rockets had like a 12 to 11 point lead in the third and fourth quarter throughout the whole thing. Celtics made it interesting at the end. They were even lucky they even had a chance to tie it. Let's face it. But this was the game to do it for me. I understand JB had 43 points, but to see the game that Tatum had and to see the game that Marcus Smart had, and even Horford, who's been great for this stretch, but 43 minutes, 2 points in the second half. I mean, Joe Mazzulla did really nothing. The only adjustment he made was throwing in Luke Cornett in the second half, which Luke Cornett, he didn't play terrible, but at the same time, what difference did that genuinely make? So this was the panic button for me. The Houston Rockets, the 15-52 Houston Rockets, who are in the Wembanyama sweepstakes. When you're competing for a championship like the Celtics and you have championship expectations, you go in, you make sure it's Geno time by the fourth quarter, and you play your G League, you play your main Celtics, or you play your second and third string players who are not likely to see playoff minutes, but you want to ramp them up and prepare them for those minutes. And Celtics failed to do that tonight in Houston. I would say if there was one easy game in this road trip, it was this one, and the Celtics absolutely blew it. And they got Minnesota coming up on Wednesday. No Karl Anthony Towns, but they still have a team that's gritty. They're going to fight. They're fighting for a playoff spot. It's so tight in the Western Conference. I believe it's only a 3-game difference between the 4th seed and the 13th seed, or the 5th seed and the 13th seed. So these Timberwolves at home, they're going to want to beat the Boston Celtics. And I'm trying to think, did we beat Minnesota when they came to Boston? I think we did.
Yeah, we did.
But we beat Houston when Houston came to Boston, and so Minnesota's going to want their get back. Any? I guess we'll close it out here. Any closing thoughts? Is there anything? I guess anybody wants to talk about before we head off?
Yeah,
I just want to say, like, I think one thing the Celtics also need to realize, I think it was brought up in the NBC Boston broadcast tonight. Every team wants to beat us.
Right.
I mean, we're the defending Eastern Conference champs. They want to make a statement. Like, we're not just some random team. Like, we're the best team in the league. Teams want to come in and smack us. I mean, let's just be honest. And when the Rockets missed 7 free throws tonight, shot 70% from the line. And I mean, I don't know how you let a team beat you shooting 70% from the line, but whatever. And then, I mean, it's just you let him grab 15 offensive rebounds. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I don't know how you're never going to win allowing 15 offensive rebounds. I don't care who you're playing.
Robert Williams was the difference in this game, not having Rob in this game. I think did Rob play in that Houston game back a couple months ago? I feel like if he did, he had one of his better games of the year. I think this might have been his first game of the double-double. I think he had like 11-11 or 15-15. Either way, this was a Robert Williams. We were missing that. And I mentioned Rob today. We want him 100%, but I want to see this guy start getting minutes here. I'm getting a little anxious about Rob.
Yeah, I'm getting a little – I mean, frankly, I'm getting a little impatient with him. I'm not going to lie. I mean, if he gets injured one more time, I think it's time to say bye. Unfortunately, I really do. I mean, it might be a hot take, but he's been a great player for us when he's healthy. But, like, when is he healthy? He'll be healthy for these 20, 25 game stretches, and then he'll get injured for a couple more weeks, and then you're just sitting there with your starting center on the bench, shorthanded, playing 36-year-old Al Horford 40 minutes like we saw
against the 43 minutes
against
Houston
the
Rockets.
Yeah. And that's just I really hope he can. I really hope he can stay healthy, because if he can, he could be a great player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of things to say. Yes, Robert Williams, 11 points, 15 rebounds last time the Celtics played the Rockets. But I think that, I mean, I know we're like so far in the season, we're not even thinking about Gallinari, but he was supposed to be that depth that we just never got. I think that's a really big piece of, Al Horford playing 43 minutes tonight, and then, you're forced with playing a bunch of guys who don't really want to play, Blake Griffin, Grant Williams, for starters. But, I think when you look at the way this team has played over the last, like basically since the All-Star break, there has to be some room for concern, especially with, the 6-game road trip coming up, and just the way that, I think I don't know why, but I don't think Derek White, except for when Marcus Smart fouled out tonight, I don't think Derek White has played a single clutch minute in weeks, maybe even months. It feels like our better lineup is with Derek White instead of Marcus Smart, especially at this point. And I feel like, he deserves those, last 3, 4, 5 minutes of close games. He should be in the game instead of Marcus.
You know what's funny? You just bring that up. I just found something. So the fourth quarter lineups the Celtics had tonight, obviously Horford, Smart, Brown, Brogdon, Tatum. 7 minutes, offensive rating of 106.7, defensive rating of 75. Lineup of Brown, Brogdon, White, Cornette, and Hauser. 5 minutes, 122 offensive rating, 162 defensive rating. Horford, Brown, Brogdon, Tatum, White. 0 minutes, so it was like a couple seconds because it was when Smart fouled out. 100 offensive rating, 50 defensive rating, regardless. It's coming increasingly obvious that I think we need to play Derek White more. It's one of those things where we just can't deny it anymore. We need to play Derek White more. He is the second best guard in this team. I love Brogdon. I really do. He was great tonight. He cannot be in the closing minutes. I'm sorry. He is, and I don't think he's a defensive liability, but he is not the defender that he used to be. Derek White is that defender. Derek White's jump shot is here, there. His offense isn't always going to be there. But at the end of the game, you need defense at this point if you're the Celtics. So you need to have Derek White at the end of these games. That's all I can say about that.
Dude,
and if you're the Celtics, what's up?
I was going to say, I don't know if any of you guys knows, but Brogdon's been missing a lot of layups recently. Like a lot of
He was
layups.
1 for 6. Him and Tatum combined 1 for 6 missing layups in the fourth quarter.
Holy crap, I did not know that. That's fucking terrible.
Yeah. And then one other thing, I love Brad Stevens as well. You missed out on a huge opportunity about getting a center at the deadline or at some point during this season. You had that empty roster space about Noah Vonleh ever since January, December.
Yeah.
When did we make that trade for
January.
Vonleh? You've had that open roster spot all season. You could have done something. Mike Muscala is great. He's not the center you need.
Right.
You needed a guy like Jakob Poeltl. It didn't have to be him. You needed a guy who was a high energy dude. Naz Reid. You needed to do something with this team. And we all talked about this at the trade deadline, which is even more irritating. We talked about how Robert Williams cannot stay healthy and that they needed center depth badly.
And we also
they didn't do anything about it.
And we also talked about Horford this time of year, Horford should be playing the opposite of 43 minutes this time of year.
It's just so funny that we talked about this and it's all happening. The worst possible fear that we talked about is happening. Yeah. And it's just kind of frustrating. And I mean, I'm not saying Brad Stevens, this is the worst move he's made ever as a GM. It's definitely not a great one because the Celtics desperately needed the center depth and they don't have it. And one more thing, at this point, what are you going to do, Celtics? How many times are you going to have these embarrassing losses and say, we'll come back. It was just a bad game. We're going to bounce back. How many times are you going to do it at this point? Like, come on, seriously? what are you going to say in your post game interview? How many times are you going to say, "Oh, it was a bad game. It was a close game, tough game, blah blah blah." Joe Mazzulla, I saw part of his post game interview. He talked about the margins of the game and missed free throws and offensive rebounding and fouling, and that's cool. Can you say something else, please? Just say something to show that you're a little irritated.
I'm getting sick of his smartass answers too.
Yeah, really.
I know
agree.
he's talking like he has the cachet of a
Bill
Belichick or a
Belichick,
Popovich, but he doesn't. He
Dude,
wasn't
like-
even supposed to be the head coach heading into this season.
Yeah, dude, you can talk like that when you won shit. Like, you
I
can't
don't
do-
know. It's just one of those things, and complaining as a 46-win team is, something that a lot of teams wouldn't do. But if you're in the situation the Celtics are in right now, I feel like we have the right to talk about it. And
again,
I think the
Go
Celtics
ahead.
have to go to the school of rebounding as well. This team does not know how to grab a rebound to save their
I agree.
freaking life. This team does not know how to rebound. I don't know how they made it to the NBA this long without knowing how to rebound, but I don't know. They have to spend like an entire practice just figuring out how to rebound or watching like one of those instructional videos that like we watch in like third grade gym class to learn how to rebound if this team wants to do anything.
Get Turian.
Yeah, I don't know.
Remember when he explained what a rebound was? He's like, when a ball comes
Use
off
WikiHow at this point.
Yeah.
I don't care.
You
Just do something, man. This team is, and we always preface this by saying they're a 46-win team. We shouldn't complain, but
No.
this team is playing their worst basketball at the worst possible time, and maybe we're spoiled because last season they played their best basketball around this point. But the Celtics cannot continue this into the playoffs because they will not win a championship. They might not even make the Eastern Conference Finals if they play like this in the playoffs. So it's up to them at this point to change the narrative around them, because if they want to be a serious title contender like they say they are, talk is only so much, and then you lose to the Houston Rockets. So
This is
what are you going to do?
This is a really nitpick stat that Ian brought up, but you talked about Malcolm Brogdon being, really inconsistent scoring inside recently, but it's really a trend that has been going on all season. He only shoots 55% between 0 and 3 feet. For contrast,
Whoa.
Smart's 59%, Tatum is 65, Brown 68. So, he really should be at least in the 60 to 65 range.
Wow.
Other guards are higher. Mikal Bridges 65%, Cam Thomas 65%, Ben Simmons 66%. Ben Simmons is like Trae Young, 54%. Trae Young smaller than him, to be fair.
We're gonna look back, and it's gonna be one of those things where it's like we never should have fired Ime Udoka.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap
I've
what
already
happens.
looked back on it.
We never ever. The Celtics are never going to win a championship. If the Celtics never win a championship at this core, even if they never make a finals again,
it's gonna
be one of those things forever. The what if we never fired Ime Udoka, and it's going to haunt us for the rest of our lives if the Celtics don't win a championship.
I don't think Joe has done a god-awful job stepping in. I think for stepping in the situation, taking over the position last second, the considerations, not having Rob, your starting big man who is evidently like such a clear, I guess, centerpiece to this team, facing adversity, like that's all tough. But when it's coming down to the, more important games of the regular season where you need to beat certain teams, Joe hasn't really come up big, I guess. He hasn't been clutch as of late. And that's an issue. That's an issue. I can never do what he does for sure. So I'm not going to sit here and like harp on his name like that. But, looking back at it, it's just like I even said this to Rob today. I was like, we really lost Will Hardy, Damon Stoudemire, and Ime Udoka in one season. Like that is so tough. And look, Udoka made a terrible mistake, but I think we also made a terrible, terrible mistake of not letting him finish his suspension and then come back next year stronger than ever. Because I really wish the Celtics, I guess, maybe took a little bit and thought about this and saw how Joe handled the rest of the season in the playoffs. And I'm not saying fire Joe, but you just stick Joe back on the bench and he's going to be an amazing assistant coach. But we've also lost 4 of the last 6 games. Would we be speaking differently on Joe if the Celtics had won 6 of their last 10 games or whatever it may be? Maybe, but as of just right now, it's just not. I don't think it's working. I don't think it's working whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we can say if it's working or not until we see a postseason run. I agree. I mean, I think we just ripped the interim tag off way too soon. I think you have to, see him go through that playoff run. Obviously, like you said, I don't know if we're having this conversation if we win 6 out of 10. So I think before we can make that judgment, we have to see him, work through a playoff run. But I definitely think we ripped off the interim tag way too early.
Agreed.
Yeah, another thing I wish we didn't suspend Udoka the entire season.
That was
Maybe
crazy.
suspend him until the All-Star break at least or something like that. Because, oh my God, this is going to suck so hard if the Celtics never win a championship with this core. Imagine it's one of those things. And, this happens in the NFL all the time. I don't know how many of you guys watch the NFL, where a team will make a Super Bowl or make a deep playoff run in the NFL and then lose their coaching staff and then completely forget everything that happened before. And it's just a missed opportunity. And it's always going to be one of those what ifs. I have a friend that's a Jacksonville Jaguars fan who, in the 2017 playoffs, they lost to the Patriots because of some bad plays. The Jaguars have 1 playoff win since then. And it's just one of those things where you never know what kind of missed opportunities you're going to have. And, like you said, there's still time. Maybe the Celtics will go on a long winning streak after this and we'll completely forget about this entire thing. And the Celtics will win in the finals. And this will just be a funny memory. But it's one of those things where, the what if is going to be there until you actually get back to the finals and win a finals. So it's
Agreed, Mr. Angela.
And the Bucks tied the score with the Kings.
I was just gonna say the Kings.
Are we gonna watch the Bucks game again
No.
on stream?
No.
Actually, have the lead now, 78-76.
It's still early. Okay.
Oh, great. Look, are they playing on national TV or is it a League Pass game?
I think it's a League Pass game.
I don't know. I feel like it's a League Pass game because there's Suns Warriors on ESPN right now.
And the Warriors are spanking the Suns.
Yeah.
I just can't stand this at all. I just let's see. Let's read some comments here. Hopefully, they realize they can't lock down on every team that we seem easy. Yeah, I agree, and that's kind of something we touched on.
We talked about that. Yeah.
We talked about that exact comment, Landon. Is Celtics just need to come down to the realization that every team in the NBA is capable of winning games, and Celtics can't play down to their competition at all, and that's what they do. It just wasn't Tatum's night tonight. It's all right. Yeah, you have those games. It just sucks that this game came in the hands of the Houston Rockets, but you are going to have those games. Tatum and Horford still on the Bucks.
I wish I could actually care about that right now, but we
Yeah.
just lost to the Rockets. There is no silver lining.
Smarter
can say.
Marcus.
What are the odds that the Nuggets, Celtics, and Warriors all start losing to bad teams at the same time? They're trying to hit you with the switcheroo as they all go through a slump. Yeah, but I mean, you go through this, and anybody goes through, these types of losses throughout the season, throughout the course of the regular season, but it sucks in the moment. JB had 43 tonight. He was our player spotlight tonight. Jaylen Brown was all right. Before we go, let's touch on JB because he was, I guess, the bright spot of tonight's game. 43 points from the field. He was fairly efficient. Couple heat checks, but I mean, can we blame him on a Sunday night? Like we kind of wish he took more.
And he hit a couple of them.
And he hit a couple of them. What do we think about this game tonight? This is exactly what we needed from Jaylen Brown, and I wish Jason Tatum took more of Jaylen Brown's game tonight, because if Brown could get to the hoop so easily, there was no reason Jason Tatum couldn't get to the hoop so easily.
Yeah, I think Jaylen Brown literally just did what everyone was yelling at the Celtics to do, and just drive to the basket, and he did exactly what we were saying. And look at him, he dropped his season high. So yeah, I mean, I like you said, Justin, I really wish even if JT just had a decent game, or even maybe a bad game. All he had to do is just not have a shitty game. And same with Marcus, and same with Al, and even though he's been great, and it's just I think JB has been the best player on our team since the All-Star break, I think.
Deja vu. Deja vu. How many times have we said that?
Yeah.
And how many, in games more important than this?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Jaylen Brown has been our best player since the All-Star break. Who would have thought he got hit in the face, come back with a mask, and turn into one of the best players in the league at this point? I don't know, man. I'm not going to talk about Jason Tatum in this segment. He just needs to get his shit together. But Jaylen Brown has been absolutely incredible for this team. It's one of those things where, at some points I kind of wanted Brown to take the last shot tonight because I thought he would have hit it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Jaylen Brown has been one of the best players in the league ever since the All-Star break. The Celtics are lucky they have two players in the league right now that are able to have nights like this. And just imagine if we didn't have Jaylen Brown right now, we'd be kind of screwed. So I will never not, give Jaylen Brown his flowers. It's just one of those things where it's really hard with everything else that happened tonight. But Jaylen Brown did what he had to do. He dropped 43 points on a 15-win Rockets team. And nobody else on the Celtics did that. So
I have nothing to add. I agree. He should have taken the last shot.
Yeah, I think a lot of different people should have taken that last shot, to be honest with you. I thought Horford was wide open in the corner. With how great Horford has been, I'd trust Horford in the corner for three any day, and you live with it if that bounces off the rim. But for now, Celtics dropped this one to the Houston Rockets, 111-109 in regulation. Celtics have now lost 4 of their last 6 games. They fall to 47-22, 47-23, one of the two. Either way, it sucks.
Also, if you're a Celtics fan, for your mental health, avoid any talk radio over the next couple days.
But you should avoid talk radio
after the Timberwolves game.
anyway.
You should avoid it in general. But if you care about your mental health as a Celtics fan, just avoid it. Avoid ESPN. Avoid 98.5. It's not going to be pretty for you guys if you actually care. Especially Felger and Maz. Do not listen to Felger and Maz.
Well, they're going to be talking about the Patriots all the time because Celtics and Bruins are some of the best teams in the entire league.
Yeah, but the Celtics are struggling right now. So
I know, but even when the Celtics were clear-cut favorite for the title and they were first place, they still kept talking about the freaking Patriots. They just had the Patriots so far up their ass. I don't get it. But
they'll be able to talk about the Patriots doing nothing. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, didn't they just trade Janu to the Falcons?
Atlanta.
Yeah. So they'll probably have to talk about that, which at least will cover this shit show here in Houston. But Celtics are back at it Wednesday night in Minnesota, looking to get back on track with the win. For now, I'm Justin. That's Jack. That's Zach. We should do that more often, Jack and Zach. And that's Ian for now. So we will see you guys.